I mean, I think you have to simplify it to why would they want USD? Why would they want, stable coins, Tether and USDC? Like, why do they want these? Why would they want regulation around them? It's pretty simple. Number one, this administration has already said they're not seeking to have a CBDC. The central bank digital currency would be, that's just evil. Having control down to the point of sale on every single thing you do is just that's a violation of freedom beyond. That's just overreaching control to the nth degree. But they have said that they would like stablecoin legislation. They want to get clarity around stablecoins. Why do they want that? Well, for the viewers who don't realize this, Tether is currently, I think, the sixth largest buyer of U.S. Treasuries in the world. It's crazy. So why would it be doing that? Well, it's doing that because it wants to peg itself to the U.S. dollar. And again, why would it do that? Because people around the world want access to dollars. And one of the ways they can get access to dollars is through stablecoins. They can get on these platforms and buy the stablecoin on that platform. Another reason for it is that when you're on those platforms, you're looking for a little bit of yield with your idle cash. And how do you do that? Well, you buy your stable coin with it, and that's what you're looking for, to have the liquidity that is pegged to the dollar rather than whatever your currency is that you can be buying Bitcoin with or the other cryptocurrencies with. Really important for people to understand that dollar dominance is predicated on the U.S. retaining the U.S. Treasury as a global reserve asset. So people need to be buying treasuries. How do they do that? Well, if they're buying stable coins that are pegged to the dollar, they're going to be buying T-bills and treasuries. And so they know this. So that strengthens the position of the treasury, that you continue to have these stable coins buying these treasuries, which stabilizes the dollar, because people aren't trying to get away from treasuries, which means that they don't need dollars. Well, the world needs dollars. And the easiest way to do that is to have treasuries, because you can turn the treasuries into dollars. Now you go to the BRICS. Well, the BRICS don't want to own treasuries because they saw what happened to Russia. We made a monumental, catastrophic mistake strategically when Biden shut off Russia from the SWIFT network, so they couldn't use the settlement network. And then they also seized their treasuries. I mean, it was just so stupid. I just can't even wrap my head around it, that they just signaled to the world that if you're not a great ally of the U.S., we might just seize your assets from you, the ones that we need you to buy. You morons. Literally, it's so stupid that they told the world that, hey, we might just shut these off. Oh, by the way, we still need you to buy them, though. I mean, it's just so dumb. And so we've got the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, saying, well, I'm not sure we want to buy treasuries. I mean, they just might seize them from us. That's, so they're looking for ways to transact cross-border without the US dollar. They're not delusional enough to think that they're just going to create a new currency, a BRICS currency. That's not going to happen. But they're looking for ways to settle cross-border transactions without having to use dollars. Again, why? Because they don't want to have to use treasuries. They don't want to have to hold treasuries. And they don't want to hold a US dollar on their balance sheet that's debasing so rapidly. They know it's debasing 7 to 8% per year. That's what the real inflation rate is, whatever the expansion of the money supply is. And the dollar is expanding by 7 to 8% a year. And they know that. They don't want to hold dollars. They might hold treasuries because that stems the flow, at least. It may not be a real rate of return, but it's not a massive bleed out like 7 or 8%. So that's the issue now. And so having stable coins helps, because it helps broaden the reach of U.S. treasuries around the world for people to buy on these exchanges. And that's a big deal. And they need that. And that strengthens the treasury and strengthens the U.S. dollar.
So I was talking to George, Bodine the other day, and then it's obviously like in financial YouTube for a while now. I mean, this has been, I don't know, 5-10 years. It's been the buy, borrow, die, and that's I think it's the Hugo Stennis trade. Like there's all kinds of different ways to kind of look at this, of borrowing. Sailors doing it now, right? There's all these different people have talked about it. Now people are playing it out in different ways. Can we have this trade? Like, can this extending of dollar dominance happen? Can Bitcoin keep mooning basically? And will we have this dollar dominance? Because if you're Howard Lutnick, if you're this guy who's sitting there with all these assets and you're living in the Hamptons, you kind of love this trade, right? Like you kind of love having these two currencies where you can play off each other. I mean, I guess it's like the yen carry trade in a way. Like you love like being able to save that hard asset and then lend against with SOB 121 going away and things like that. You love the ability to borrow the cheap currency and then save in the hard asset. It feels like this is going to be the trade for a while, like as far as the eye can see almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the trade, right?
Yeah.
Borrow cheap and buy the asset that appreciates significantly. That's where, guys like Dave Ramsey get it so wrong. They're like, oh, pay off your house, pay off your house, pay off your house. No, you're borrowing at a rate that's lower than the expansion of the money supply. You're being paid to borrow money, basically. That's what they're not seeing, you know? But yeah, it's going to continue for as long as I can see. There's just no way out of this from what I can tell. The only way that doesn't work is if the expansion of the money supply slows and that debasement becomes less than, whatever your borrowing rate is. Not likely to happen in the near future, So, I mean, I maintain borrowing across the board. Doesn't mean I don't have assets. I've got, plenty, whether they're liquid or illiquid, that I don't, I didn't pay off my house because why would I pay off my house? That's a stupid trade. At this point in history of our fiat experiment, it's stupid. Again, I'm calling a lot of people stupid today. You can tell what kind of mood I'm in. But
it's a Monday. It's a Monday, folks.
I mean, I just think it's erroneous. I don't think it's the wisest thing to do, as long as you have cash flow that you can manage that borrowing. Now, this is where we get into the problem of the U.S. Treasury. They do not have the cash flow to manage the amount of borrowing they're doing, which is why Doge is trying to reel in that spending because it's out of control. And so they know that they've got to reel that in. Will we get to a budget surplus? I kind of got into a debate with Pomp at his own conference last week in New York about this. And the answer is, I don't think it's likely. He thinks that I'm underestimating it. I think that he's overestimating it. I just don't think it's likely that we get to a surplus, which means that the borrowing is going to continue, which means the debasement is going to have to continue because there's no way to manage this debt in an environment where the currency is appreciating in value, because you're going to be paying back debt with a dollar that's worth more. You don't want to do that. So, you need
it's deflation in an inflationary system, right? Yeah. Like that doesn't work.
Work. So AI and all that's problematic if it starts pulling GDP down. But the other side of that equation is they're looking to lower taxes too. The tax income is going to go down. The spending's going down. The hope is that the taxes go down across the board enough that it stimulates the economy to get GDP to go higher in real terms, along with the expansion of the money supply to get higher in nominal terms. And then we can get closer to a budget, a balanced budget. But that goes to the point of, as long as you're not over your ski tips on your borrowing, that is the right play financially, mathematically. Borrow at, in the currency that's debasing quickly, and use that to buy hard assets that are appreciating against it.
Yeah. Like you said, managing those debt levels. And that's what, like the emotions are unfortunately what get to a lot of human beings, and they're unable to manage those debt levels, and they stay too emotional about it. And that's what's very tough for them. I want to touch on the bit bonds here. This is starting to become a thing a little bit. It feels like you're talking about growing and expanding what we're doing. And I was thinking even on a local level. I mean, like I was talking to some people in my local town. I'm like, man, when has there ever been a time in life where you could literally basically have a private placement? You're raising money, just like the fund. I mean, you guys do this, you're raising money. You could have people across the world paying you, in essence, basically giving you money to fund the development of your city, your local municipality. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. And it's like people just we're so early from what's going on here. But my question is, again, this outgrowing thing, like you said, we're cutting, tax income is going to be going down. bit bonds, like we have these different things that these guys, again, they seemingly are going to try some different things here, some revolutionary, when it comes to the government, at least revolutionary things where we're changing what we're doing and how we're looking at things, and to increase revenue and offset maybe some of the cuts or the tax revenue going down. So I would love for you to, touch on the bit bonds, your thoughts on that and what this might entail going forward.
If you want the answer to that question right there and you like that spicy clip, check it out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. But if you want the full interview in its entirety, all the spicy clips put together, and you're not going to want to miss it, believe me, then check that out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. Do it.